Call this meeting in order. All stand and face the flag for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Roll call. Britton Luther.
Present.
R.G. Devon.
Here.
Tim Yoakum's here. Approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approval of claims.
I'll make a motion to approve claims.
I'll go ahead and second that motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approval of payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve payroll.
And I will second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, open issues. First, we're going to start off with the health department. Can you come up and do a presentation, please?
Good morning, everyone. Update as of today, we have 43 deaths in the county. Our status is yellow, which is low spread, which is a good thing. Between March 1st and the 15th, we had 17 positive test results. We've had a total of 1,625 in cases. We've given out first doses of almost 3,000. Starting April 1st, we're going to be completely 100% at the fairgrounds. It's just too small at the health department to administer and to do social distancing. So we're going to be doing that. We did get a limited amount of the J&J vaccine, which is a single vaccine. So we're going to be
When you
having...
say that single vaccine, does it mean it only got to be done once?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. We'll be having a special clinic for that in Cayuga on the 22nd from 12 to 6. People must register for that. All of us are still working 6 days a week, crazy hours. But it's been very, very positive, super, super positive. People are extremely grateful and happy to be getting the vaccine. Our testing has gone down, which is normal. It's not just our county. But we've had real full days, and we're doing about 3 to 4 every 10 minutes, vaccine-wise. So.
Yellow means what?
It's very low spread, so things have really lifted where you can have social gatherings as long as you maintain your social distancing. And we'd like to get to blue. That's really would be the best one right now. So everybody still has to be diligent, still wear their mask, still, you know.
And then when we get to blue, how will that change things?
Well, it'll allow a lot more things to be open and the amount of people that can populate. But it's kind of hard because they can say in blue, okay, you're back to 100% capacity, but you still have to keep 6 foot social distancing. So it doesn't really make much sense there. But as a county, as a whole, all of us have been extremely impressed with how people have, you know, done the right thing, wearing the mask, the social distancing, all of that. And the schools are doing well. You know, we're a little concerned now coming spring break. But, you know, that's...
How are we doing compared to other counties? Other counties are around us, are they?
We're doing very well, extremely well. Our numbers are very good.
Okay, and what do you say your hours? So you're saying now you're in all the testing up there?
Yes, we're going to be doing testing on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. 100% up there starting April 1st.
Okay.
So it'll probably be about 6 to 8 people every 10 minutes.
What do you say the hours are?
12 to 6, and then 10 to 3 on Saturdays. And if we have to, we'll open more. But we're all working quite a bit of hours.
And no appointments necessary?
Yes, you do need to have an appointment.
Okay.
It's important that we can't do walk-ins because the state allots the number of vaccines that they send us based on the appointments. So that's how that works.
What's the conditions on the elderly housing and the elderly ones that are in the convalescent
shut-ins?
centers? Have that all been covered?
Yeah, and even I was really impressed to hear at the Chateau in Clinton, insurance carriers got in touch with those people that live there and actually transported them with Area 7 down to Terre Haute to get their vaccines. So I thought that was really super good. Yep. So we've been reaching out to everybody. So we're doing
You
well.
guys been doing a good job.
Yeah, and then now we're working with EMS for the homebound. We're working with that and physicians for people with special needs, and we're getting them as well.
Anybody out in the audience have any questions for Health Department?
Who do you call to schedule your appointment?
You can call 211, or you can go to rshots.in.gov and register that way. So it takes you maybe 20 minutes out of your life. We have to observe you for 15 afterwards, and then you're good to go. It's a
Okay.
positive thing.
Anybody else? Any questions?
Mhm.
Thank you very much for all you do.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Next, Romaine Rise, Bob Gray.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Just a few thoughts to share. Our authority meets Thursday evening. Don't have a lot on the agenda.
You say next Thursday evening or this Thursday?
This Thursday,
Okay.
18th.
At what time?
At 6 o'clock.
Okay. Is it
We are
open?
meeting in advance of that in executive session, but our regular public meeting is always at 6 on the third Thursday.
Okay.
Just some quick updates, or maybe a bit of good news. We responded to an inquiry from the Indiana Economic Development Corporation last week on a large water user. And so we're always happy to see those kind of projects come through where, even if we're not selected, we can get our water resource in front of people that in that industry. So that's always good, and looking forward to following up on that. Another thing that we've been talking about is your jail project, and I think we continue to have dialogue and moving closer to having a good understanding and framework. We've talked in the past, there was just kind of some handshake agreements way back with the Army and this and that, and finally getting something that we can document and understand who's responsible for what. So that'll be very positive. And lastly, I think it was the last meeting, we talked about Tim reaching out to a company in Illinois, and we're going to have some follow-up engagement with that company. So again, these are all positive developments. So that's really just a few short updates I had today, this morning.
Anybody, anything for Bob? Any questions?
Had my discussions yesterday.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob.
Romaine Trails Alliance, anyone here from Romaine Trails Alliance? No one? You want to discuss any of that today or not? Or is that for the wait, or?
That's up to you. I mean, John, a question on these trails that the county were ownership of, that they're working on. I understand the other day they had several volunteers, 20, 30, using chainsaws, cutting. Is the county not going to be liable if something would happen on that property?
I believe that we consulted with our insurance carrier, and they advised us that we were covered by our insurance if there would be such an injury, but there'd be nothing wrong with running that scenario back by them again, just to confirm it.
Okay.
I mean, would there be anything that we could do, any type of paper we'd have people sign, would that help us?
You
any?
could have them sign a waiver if they're going to volunteer.
Okay, I mean, you think that's another layer of protection or whatever?
It can't hurt. I mean, again, waivers are good, but then the first thing the personal injury attorney does is attack the waiver and say it's invalid, so it helps.
Okay. I mean, we're all in favor. I was
Sure.
worried if there'd be any risk there that.
Absolutely. No, there's nothing wrong though with going back to our insurance, just double checking, saying, hey, could you guys confirm that we're covered?
Okay. Next will be the jail renovation. Brett, you want to give an update on what we,
We hired a construction manager last Tuesday at a special commissioners meeting. Their meeting, they've already started their work the next day. There's a meeting now at the jail between the construction manager, the architect, the sheriff, and the county. That'll be the first official meeting, I guess, to kick off since the CM's been on board. We had a meeting with the RISE yesterday concerning the water issue and sewerage, and about formalizing those agreements, and then also looking at the preliminary plans to bring the water over and provide, I guess, a verbal structure of how that might come about as far as the agreements between the RISE and the county, and being able to provide water and the sewerage. I don't know that there'll be any differences with it at this point. And it is for the full expansion of the jail at some point, if it ever gets built totally out across the whole pod. And that's where we stand at this point. Estimates they're continuing. RQAW is continuing with specifications. The construction manager is now on board with their input on the specifications as well, and review of drawings.
what are the dates we're shooting for as far as bid dates? And we're still trying to go back to some.
I need to write these
hopefully-
down. April,
Was it May, wasn't it?
well, April 1st, should have the specifications complete, and then bid documents should be drafted by May 1st to May 15th, somewhere in that range, and then June 1st, we should be going out for bids. Is that right?
No, I hold you
No,
on
we'll be
that.
getting back by June 1st. Actually, we will have them back by June 1st,
Have the
bids.
bids back by June the 1st?
Yeah, I think they'll be sent out April 15th, back by June 1st. Decisions will be made by June 15th. Paperwork will be sent out and signed, and the earliest start date for construction will be July 1st.
Okay.
Most likely it also depends on how the bonds have sold at that point. So the monies have to be in hand before we're willing to actually let the contracts.
We had an estimate of 24 months completion time, right? That was a guess.
That's the estimate now. Now we have the construction manager on board. There'll be two things that he'll be completing. Well, more than that, but the two things that are relevant to that is that we will have a schedule, a time schedule, and a cost schedule. And it'll be actually an engineering cost to see if we're still in line with what the estimates were done last year. And then the second thing will be a schedule, which actually will either confirm the 24 months or where it will fall inside that. So those are the two major things that they'll be working on besides getting bid documents ready.
Okay. Anybody got any questions or about the jail project? Like we was talking, we met and we're getting closer to getting the technical part worked out on the water line, and so we're getting close on that. Board appointments, I don't know if we need to do with that today. I really don't. You see anything or we need to do it
I think we
today?
might have some for drainage, maybe next meeting, I believe, for the
Okay.
drainage board.
Okay. Wind and solar, this is open discussion. If anybody wants a voice, say anything today. Would limit your discussion to about 3 to 4 minutes. We don't want to get in a big, long talk here, but this is county government. You have a right to come and voice what you want to say or whatever. If anyone's here want to voice their opinion, you're more than welcome.
Area plan will start meeting on this Thursday at 6 o'clock to start working on the wind ordinance.
This Thursday at 6.
Yeah, it starts at 6 on this Thursday, and we're gonna meet each Thursday evening at 6 until we have something hashed out that we can,
We'll be here in the Commissioner's Court.
yes. Yes.
Okay.
That House Bill 1381 was assigned to committee in the Senate this week also, so that's still progressing through the state government.
Does anyone here want to discuss the bill, House Bill 1381? I think that,
Area plan went on that their meeting signed off on the letter saying we're opposed to it, and we're sending that off to.
And the commissioners, I think we're up to like over 60 counties in the state of Indiana, AIC, and I believe majority is against. I think we're going to have some problem in this. I hate to say it, but it might not go in our favor. What that does, it takes away our local control, and I think the majority of the people do not agree with the overstep of the state government. It's definitely wrong. And from my side, and I think the majority of the people I've talked to in leadership in the county are definitely against any overreach like that. But last time I talked to was some legislatures, they're worried that it might pass. And so it could. Go ahead.
I also received an email from Phil Cox yesterday about House Bill 1337, and I hadn't heard anything about it, but this bill eliminates local government to protect citizens from factory farms and logging operations near city boundaries. It's like they're just trying to, so you might look into House Bill 1337 also.
Is there one here in favor of House Bill 1381? I'm just curious if you are. I'd like to know why. I know there was some support here locally from a few selected people for it, and I thought, wow, whatever. Hopefully that will not pass. If it does, like I said, it takes away our local control on zoning and wind and solar. And I think it starts a bad precedent, you know, the overreach by the state government. Hopefully we will. Anyone got any comment about wind or solar? You'll come up here to the mic. Good.
Not really, but I will.
About 3 to 5 minutes, so we tell that up front, so everybody's, in case they get too long-winded, we don't want something to go too long.
Well, I'm Louis Perry from Dana. I just want to go on record as being opposed to any solar or wind farms in the Dana area. I think it would be very detrimental to the quality of life. You got companies come in and throwing a few dollars at people. A lot of people think, well, this is money, I'm going to get some of this, and don't consider the quality of life for everybody else around. I like I say, I'm opposed to it. If they can make these solar generators invisible and silent, I'd be in favor of it. Otherwise, no.
Okay.
And we got 7,000 acres just south of us here that's probably never going to have anything but a few small industries in it, and that's fine. But that'd be a good place for about 5,000 acres of solar farm.
Okay. I think that's solar is being entertained at the rise in it. Yeah. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Anybody else? This is your courtroom. Okay, we're going to move on right along with new business redevelopment commission. Scott Craig, assignment tax certification sale.
Good morning.
Good
morning.
Scott Craig, I'm here on behalf of the Redevelopment Commission this morning. Thank you for allowing us to come to a different meeting. We have before you a resolution to transfer assign seven tax sale certificates to the Redevelopment Commission. Just as a bit of background, because I know some of you are new. We did this at the Romaine County Redevelopment Commission 2 years ago, I think, a year and a half or so ago. We asked the Commission to transfer 5 tax sale certificates to us. We then acquired title. We go through the process of getting tax deeds to those properties. It takes about 6 months to accomplish that. And of those 5 properties, 3 were in Cayuga, 2 were in Dana. The 2 in Dana were residential properties. We got those 2 properties cleaned up and sold. Matter of fact, I have a check this morning for the second one. We finally got that closed last month. The properties in Cayuga there's still one that needs to be torn down. We're going to be opening bids at our next meeting on March 30th to find out what the bids are and possibly award the contract soon thereafter to get that building torn down. It's going to be more complicated. We had to get an engineer involved because it does share a wall with an adjoining building. So we have to tear down this one building without knocking down the one next to it. So that's taken a little while. So the commission had approved asking for 7 properties. There are, I believe there's 5 residential properties and 2 commercial properties. The 2 commercial properties are both on Main Street in Dana and are in very, very poor shape. The 5 residential properties are kind of scattered throughout the county. There's a couple out in Blandford. There's one in St. Bernice, one in Universal, and one in Cayuga on your way to Eugene. All of these have gone through multiple tax sales without any interest or any bids. And so our request would be that you assign the certificates to us. We would go through the process of acquiring title to those properties and work to, once we own them, work to get them cleaned up or sold. Ideally, if we could find somebody to buy them and clean them up at the same time and avoid having to clean them up ourselves, that would be optimal, but that doesn't always happen. So sometimes we have to clean them up first, and then people are more interested in buying them. I would say RJ had contacted me about 2 additional properties in Cayuga, commercial properties in Cayuga. I've looked at those, and I've emailed the commission about those. Actually, I ended up with 3 of my members here today, but because, well, Peggy left. She's one of our commissioners, so I don't have a quorum anymore. But we meet later this month, so we could talk about it then. I think there's some questions we need to look into a little bit more, but I don't think there'd be. What we'd ask you to do is go ahead and transfer these 7 to us, and if those other 2 are viable, then we could come back to you, in April, I guess it'd be, and ask you to assign those other 2. So
you put these up for an auction or sealed bid when you're done with them, or how do you get it to the?
It depends on the property. The 2 that we've sold, we did request proposals for those, and we don't necessarily have to convey it to the highest bidder. We can evaluate them and determine which one is the best. So we ask what the property owner intends on doing with the property, what their plans are, and in fact, we get commitments from them to fulfill their obligation. If they don't fulfill their obligation, they have to return the property back to us. There's certainly a possibility. We've talked about one of the properties, for example, one of these properties on the list in Dana is something I know the town is interested in getting. And so if it's the town that wants it, we don't have to go through a bidding process. We can just work something out directly with them. I don't know, we've had some talks about what we might do with these properties in Cayuga once we're done, whether the town might want them or not. I don't know yet, though. We'll probably see.
I mean, how do you make the notification that these properties are for sale or available?
Well, the ones we did in Dana, we advertised it in the paper and put notices at town hall, at the post office, places like that.
Okay.
County website?
No.
Yeah,
we could. I mean,
That was
should
a
be
hint.
used. And I don't know if you have someone who's savvy, about posting and stuff. Because if not, we could set you up a site. Part of that. You already got one on there? I don't know.
No, we do not.
We could set that up, and I think
Yeah.
it'd be a huge asset for you all, for posting and make a lot more stuff more available to people. So we'll help you do that. I mean.
Yeah, that's fine. No, I think it was a year. Well, it wasn't a year ago. It was last fall, I think, when we sold our first 2 properties. And we had a lot of. It's interesting how many people, when they find out that the Redevelopment Commission is involved, how many people start to approach you about, hey, would you? So we tried to get the word out. I think we did a pretty good job at Dana, because most of the people who were interested were from Dana in buying those, and we actually ended up selling the properties to people in Dana. I know one of the properties on this list, Mr. Yoakum, I should speak to it. One is in St. Bernice, and I know the fire department is interested in that property. It's kind of across it's behind them, not directly behind them. It's a lot behind them. But Brent Bush, who's on the fire department, had asked me about that one and said if we got that one, they'd like to have that one. That'd be a situation where we might just work directly with them and not bid that one if another government agency or volunteer organization's interested, especially given that they would have the resources potentially to clean it up themselves and avoid us having to get involved.
When those are sold, the proceeds just come back to the county.
Yeah.
Is that the best way to be able to, if we have another quasi-governmental entity, is that the best way of transferring property is through redevelopment? Or is there
depends.
other ways?
It depends. Redevelopment does have some abilities that not everyone else has. Different boards have different powers, right? So redevelopment has the ability to extinguish all delinquent taxes. We send a letter to the auditor. It has to meet certain criteria, but we can extinguish all delinquent taxes. That can be an issue with buying some of these properties for people. If one of the property owners of these properties said, look, I'll give this to my neighbor, I just want my neighbor to have it, that neighbor would take that property subject to all the back taxes, which in the case of 6 of these properties are in over $10,000. So that's an impediment to somebody wanting just to, my neighbor wants to give it to me. We're not giving it to me. There's $10,000 worth of back taxes. So we can wipe out back taxes usually if the property is donated correctly. The Redevelopment Commission also has the statutory ability to, as I said, we advertise, we accept proposals for properties, but they're not bound to sell it necessarily to the highest bidder. They have to evaluate them and sell it convey it to the best bidder. And that involves some subjective determination sometimes about what's best and what's best for the county. But usually, I think that is it can be an effective mechanism. And as a matter of fact, you can be very specific in saying we want proposals for somebody who's going to take this property and redevelopment as an apartment complex. And we'll take the highest bidder or the best bidder who's willing to develop this as an apartment complex. And then if somebody bids $1, but they're willing to convert it into an apartment complex, they win. That is a tool that can be used sometimes if you have a developer who's interested in a property and has some idea in mind of what they want to do with it. So they have more flexibility in selling property, I would say, than some other entities do.
So how many properties do you have currently? You got 6, you said.
We had
You got
5,
2.
we sold 2, so now we're down to 3. They're all adjoining in Cayuga, right, John? They're all, yeah. 2 of them are cleaned up, sort of. The buildings had already collapsed for the most part, so we got those cleaned up. The one remaining structure needs to come down. And we did have these all. We had phase 1 environmentals done on those to make sure that before we took ownership that there weren't going to be any issues. We probably need to do the same with these ones in Dana, for example, as well. But we have 3 right now. We got to get them cleaned up. We're opening those bids on March 30th, and then we'll decide what we want to do with them. I don't know. Doc Sutherland is kind of our Cayuga liaison since he lives up there. And I know at one point I think the town had kind of said maybe they might be interested. Community Action might be interested. I don't know. People, we don't exactly have hundreds of people lined up. This is downtown, Indianapolis or something. But again, the Redevelopment Commission, if we, for example, the properties in Dana, when we first offered both properties up, we got no proposals on one of them. So we went back we had 2 proposals for one property, 0 proposals for the second property. So since we didn't get any proposals for the second property, we went back to the people who submitted proposals for the first property and said, would you be interested in the second one? And we said, there is no minimum bid anymore, just whatever you think you'd be willing to spend. And so then we were able to convey that one. So,
is there any amount every year you want to get so many, or are you just going to take so many until you get rid of so many? Or what's your process of selecting how many?
We're still new, and we're still, the idea has been to take some baby steps, try it out, not to bite off too much more than we can chew. The commercial properties are much more involved, typically because of environmental issues and the expense involved. So it's also a function of how much budget we have available to us to do demolitions. We don't know how much this building, I think the estimates were like $80,000, John, on the Cayuga property to get tore down.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Okay, I can't remember. We'll find out. It's not just the tearing down part, we also have to build a wall, a new wall for the building next to it to preserve its wall. And the demo has to be done somewhat carefully. The 2 properties, I'll tell you, the 2 properties in Dana cost us about $20,000 to get those residential structures tore down. So even residential structures can get expensive, given amount of work that has to sometimes be done, and hauling cost, and reseeding, and all the elements that go into it. So, you know, we do have some money budgeted this year. We think we have enough to get this building in Cayuga tore down. We would probably, depending on, let's see, it's March, we're going to be on the, it will take us about 6 months to even acquire title to these properties, so I doubt we're able to tear down any more of these. Even if we got these 2 commercial properties this year, we probably would not be able to tear them down this year. Maybe we could afford to do 1 or 2 of the residentials. Some of the residentials sometimes really aren't that big of a deal. We'd love to work with the commissioners a little bit, maybe on using some county resources sometimes to maybe help with some of the cost involved, if it's the hauling or the something like that. That would help, certainly. But, you know, the idea partly is we're only also looking at properties that have gone through the tax sales multiple times, typically. And we don't want to, if somebody else is willing out there in the world to buy these up and keep them and do something with them, we want them to have it. But
that's something we talked about a little bit. It was last year, year before last, was how we as a county can help you all. I mean, I know you hire this out and it costs X amount of dollars, and it costs X amount of dollars. So I'm not against, I mean, the other 2 commissioners have their own, voice their own opinion, but I think any way we can use county resources to help redevelopment with some of this, you know, I mean, as far as even tear down or something, you know, any way we could assist with county, if we have the time. I'm saying, you know, this is my opinion, it's not, they can voice their own, but if we can help you guys any way to cut costs and stuff, I think that, you know, that's something that I would be very interested in entertaining that conversation.
well, we may talk to you about these ones down the road. The one in Cayuga, we're going to have to bid that out. That's going to be too involved. But especially some of these residential properties, Mr. Yoakum, I think those would be things that we'd love to talk to you guys about, and seeing if there's some way we could, you know, maybe we have a contractor come in and knock it down, and we have county help haul it away, you know, whatever.
Right.
I think there's some ways we could.
I'm speaking for myself. The other 2 have the right to speak.
Tim, I would agree to that. I mean, I've been telling APC and even, you know, some members of redevelopment that we should be working together. So anywhere we can cut some cost, I'd be all for doing that.
Well, we don't have anything right now, so but you know, and as I said, RJ reached out to us about a couple more properties there in Cayuga. We went through this. You know, there was some debate about how many we should try and do, and part of it is a management. You know, we don't have a staff or anything like that. It's just, you know, John and Doc do a lot of stuff. I mean, they're fielding calls. They're going up and looking at these places, taking pictures. I mean, it's a lot of their own personal time. So the more, you know, I don't want to get too far afield, but, you know, one thing we've kicked around is if we have a new economic development director, maybe that office could help out a little bit with some of the administrative side of you know, just dealing with, and they do, I shouldn't say they do now, you know, we have people send bids to there if they need to mail a bid or drop a bid off. That's kind of our office, but we could use some staff support. That'd be awesome. So that would help, and we might be then able to, you know, do a little bit more, I think, if we had some staff support.
So Scott, you just need this resolution approved today?
If you'd be so inclined, and like I said, we're meeting on the 30th at 4:30, John. So if I know you don't have to come, RJ, but I know if you wanted to come to that meeting, that'd be a good meeting to come up and talk to. Because
you said 4:30.
4:30. We're meeting at Clinton City Hall this time, I think. So
Meeting where at?
This meeting's at Clinton City Hall.
Okay.
So love to have any of you come. Matter of fact, Mr. Luther came to our last meeting, or not our last meeting, I guess, but maybe one of our meetings, a couple meetings ago. He came, and we were grateful to have him there and appreciated his learning about us and what we do. So it'd be lovely to have you come there, because I think we'd like to know a little bit more about these properties.
Sure.
I know about the ones in Dana a little bit, because I've been the Dana town attorney for several years now. One of the buildings in Dana, the town is very interested in trying to acquire. They're having it looked at by a structural engineer. Even as I don't know, he may not be there at this moment, but they have a contract with a structural engineer to go in and look at it and see if it is even salvageable, because they would like to use it as a community center site. If they can restore and preserve and somehow fix the building that's there now, they'd love to do that. That'd be option number one, but they don't think that's probably going to be financially feasible or structurally feasible. So they even talked to us about some cost sharing in the demo if need be, because they would like to get that property. It's the one when if you come into Dana from the south, it has the remnants of a mural on it of Ernie Pyle. It's right when you go across the tracks there. So but the town has eyes on that to be a possible community center site. So we'll see.
Doesn't the town have their garage right north of that?
Yeah, they would. Yes, yeah, they do. So. And the other one in Dana is right across the street from Town Hall, and it's next to the post office, and it's collapsing even as every day. That one's going to be complicated because it is connected to the post office building, and so it will have to be very carefully demoed. So.
Paige or Penny, do you have something to say?
I know that one of the structures on Murr Street, a resident, an adjacent property owner is interested in that property
Is that the one in
in Blandford.
Blandford? Yeah, there's two that are pretty close together there in Blandford.
The one, I've already looked at the property, I don't know the exact address, but the adjacent property owner has contacted the office about the tax sale coming up. So how does that work if they're already interested in it?
Well, if they assign the certificate to us, then there will not, it'll be pulled out of the tax
Right,
sale.
but then can they contact you and tell you
Yeah,
they're interested in it?
everyone, you do too, the county does this, we do have the ability to sell just to adjoining property owners if we think that that's the best, most logical use of the property. And there's a process we have to follow to give notices to the adjoining property owners and give them the opportunity to bid. So that may be something we could do if that person's
The
interested.
using property is the same way, one of the adjacent property owners is
Yeah.
interested in that structure as their property as well.
But,
When we assign these over to you, does it help if we lend a preference to where they go, i.e. the Dana, et cetera, fire departments, et cetera?
it doesn't
No
hurt. I mean,
no
it doesn't
assistance.
necessarily matter. We may not acquire any of these. I mean, it may be that people come in and redeem these. It's possible. It happens. It doesn't happen with us yet. But the city of Clinton has been doing this for years now. And I believe we had, I don't know if you guys hear from the auditor's office, we had like 6 people come in and redeem their properties at the deadline last week or 2 weeks ago, which is
It's good.
good because they're paying their taxes, right? So if they want to come in and pay their taxes, that's all they got to do. If somebody wants to keep their property, they're going to get notices, and if they want to keep it, they can come in and pay their taxes on it. And if they do that, fine. They get to keep the property, and the county gets some money.
I just wish there was maybe a little better communication with existing property owners next to it. I mean, I know what happened to us with the Clinton Church. We own a property next to the sewer plant, and I guess the city thought they owned it, but we own it. And then the small house right next to our church came up, and I didn't know about it, and I'm pastor of the church, and it got sold. Now the city of Clinton's got it, and so I just think if we would have knew that was up, we as a church would have purchased that.
Well, the tax
And
sale.
I'm saying we did. It was out there.
Yeah,
I'm saying
it's
we
hard.
should've
I
known.
understand. You see this list and
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything
Yeah.
to most people, and people are intimidated. That's why people don't often bid on it, is because they don't understand the process is not for the soft of heart. It requires lawyers. It doesn't require a lawyer, but it helps to have a lawyer. You got to have title work done. There's certain statutory deadlines. Notices have to be sent out, and it's easy to foul up if you don't follow.
I'm
the
not saying anything
process.
wrong. We didn't miss it. We missed it. That's just plain.
But I think that ultimately the idea, once somehow word gets out, like these properties in Dana were on for sale that we own, well, have sold now. I mean, anyone could have bought them
Yeah.
for $150 at a tax sale. Now, part of the reason people haven't done that probably is because they're looking at this building on there, going, well, I'd like that lot, but I don't want to spend $150 on it
Right.
if it's going to cost me $10,000 to tear down the building that's there. So, but as I said, our name is redevelopment. So one of our primary goals and missions is to try and take properties that are blighted or in need of redevelopment and create conditions that allow them to be redeveloped. So The property in Dana that we did sell a couple months ago, I was up there last week, and they're starting to build their new, they're going to build a nice big pole barn on there with sewer and water, keep it as a garage. So it's a sewer and water customer for Dana, so they're happy about that. We lost money on it. It cost us more to tear it down and acquire it than it did what we were able to put back in the county coffers. But at the same time, they're going to continue to, they're going to be paying taxes on it now, and hopefully, I think there's some addition by subtraction sometimes in getting rid of this blight. So.
Okay, Paige, did you have something else to say?
Yes, I was, when you tear down properties, please be sure to notify the assessor's office so that we can take the structures off.
Good point. We need to make sure we've told,
Clinton
yeah.
City's not very good at communicating that with us, but yes, we do need to know.
Yeah, and I don't know if the people came up. I just met with the property buyers of our other property, and I gave them all the sales disclosures and stuff. And I don't know if I don't think I told them to tell you that. I know they would have brought the sales disclosure to your office, but they should have told you, yeah, to make sure to know the property is now a vacant lot.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
You don't conduct the ESAs on these until after they're transferred?
What's an ESA?
Environmental site assessment?
Depends. On the residentials, well, I'm trying to think. On the commercials, we did beforehand on the commercials, I think. If we can get site access, we get phase ones done on the commercials. On the residentials, we consulted with he's at ISU. Dave Ellis at ISU about our residential properties to see, and he told us on the residentials he didn't think it was necessary given their age, and so we did not have them done on the residentials. We do on the commercials.
Is there if we transfer these over to you and the ESA comes back that it's a dry cleaners or whatever it might be that has some larger liability to it, what happens then?
There's two things that can happen. One is we just walk away from it.
Does it come
We
back
haven't. You transferring the tax sale certificates to us does not transfer any title to us.
Right,
We don't take
okay,
ownership.
that's where I was going.
So we could walk away from it. I think that though we would probably try and explore. I think the first option would be to try and explore some way to get it cleaned up. Surprising how many funds can be made available grant-wise to get something cleaned up, because nobody else is ever going to take it either. So we would try and work with somebody to get some funding to get that cleaned up before. Now we could probably, as a governmental entity, we could probably, as long as we've had a phase one done, we could probably get a clearance letter from IDEM on it. Because we take it knowing that there's a problem. We did not cause the problem. But that'd be one of these properties is a former laundromat in Dana, so there is a possibility where definitely want to make sure we get that one checked out, and it could require some additional environmental studies, yes. So that's something that we talked about at our meeting and said, look, we don't know though, and you don't know until you find out. So let's find out if there is a problem. If there is a problem, we'll figure out how to deal with it. But there are ways to get it cleaned up and then hopefully get it sold again, possibly. If not, as I said, we just let the certificate expire, and we would not redeem it, and it would still be in the name of whoever the owner was beforehand. So.
Anybody else? Anybody else got any comments, questions?
Thank you, Scott. With that, I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-08, whereas it is assigning tax sale certificates to the Redevelopment Commission, as listed.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion? No discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Pass. Thank you. Appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you for your help.
If we can help you in any way, like I said, let us know. If we can assist you in some other way too.
That
So.
would be great. That really would help. That would be.
You had some other speakers there also at your one meeting I was at. At some point, it might be nice to know a little bit more about redevelopment and some things that your other counterparts can help you with, or help the county with, for that matter.
Sure.
So to me, it was kind of interesting to learn a little bit more about what you're doing. So
And I think, like he's saying, it's important that people know how it works, like come here and he talked about today, and it's informing people, and it's good information, so appreciate it again. Patrick Engineering Environmental, that's just approval for an invoice on the jail. This needs to be paid, so.
The work's been complete, the report's in hand, and the architect's accepted the report and is designed off of that report as well. Make a motion that we pay the Patriot invoice for, what was it, $6,000?
Motion by Britton Luther.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion.
I'm gonna go ahead and have her put this in for this payroll, would that be okay?
That'd be fine.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Pass. Okay. Bid established on item D, bid specification, establish responsible bidding practice and submission requirements for sending perform construction work on project ordinance 2016-0005, excuse me. Pull that up here. I think we're dealing with an issue here that this ordinance that we're going to renew for this jail project. You guys want to comment on that, Britton?
To some, this is known as the union ordinance. Basically, actually I wasn't ready to discuss this one today, but the Bacon Act. It also requires certified payrolls. The state has preempted this ordinance already, so it's basically a dead ordinance. It does need to be probably removed from our ordinances, though, and replaced with the current act as provided by the state of Indiana. I don't know if that's actually associated with the right to work or not, the state ordinance. I'd have to go back and read that again. Anyway, that's what I know of this. Do you know, John, if that's true that it is been replaced by the right to work, or?
Not off the top of my head, but I'll check on it.
Okay. Anyway, the state's replaced this with another ordinance, or not an ordinance, a statute, of which makes this one immaterial anymore. So it's in contrary to state law at this point.
So does this need to be addressed with the jail project coming up?
It probably should just, well, it's more of cleaning up our records. Like I said, the state will preclude anything that we have in this ordinance at this point. But it does, our ordinances should be cleaned up, and this should be repealed and or it's just repealed and or replaced with basically the state language, if we want to maintain an ordinance on it anyway. So we can either repeal it today and then come back with another ordinance later on.
At the next meeting or later on.
We could do that, or wait until we do have the language to actually place an ordinance in its place.
If we repeal it today, it would just be, we'd have the state to fall back on.
Yeah, I don't believe it makes any difference at this point whether this ordinance is in place. It's just a matter of cleaning up our records.
I'm just wondering if maybe we ought to wait till next meeting to do it. I think we're trying to change something in the county as far as ordinance. I think we all three agree that ordinance processes are not done properly. Even with, I hate to say it, but solar, there's things there that I asked to be addressed before that happened, and it didn't, but it was passed. But anytime you create an ordinance and affecting groups of people or certain people, then people need to be informed of that possibility of that ordinance coming up. And it's bad government. I think I can speak for my part, or the other two here, I think, feel the same way. The more that you inform the people and the more you let them know what's going on, the better government works. And so, therefore, if you have an ordinance come up about restaurants or a specific group of people or a certain business, we as commissioners we want to inform those people before an ordinance is passed. Whether they agree with us or not, I think good government is informing those people and getting those people involved, letting them know that this is coming up. And I know a lot of times things are passed by boards and things, and people are not informed. And so we're trying to make, and the other two can voice their part here too, but we're trying to make it so those involved are more informed, and they have a right to come and voice their agreement or displeasure with it. And I just think it's good government. Any of you two want to speak on that a little bit?
I mean, I would agree to that, so, would we like to just table this until the next commissioners meeting?
At least give it one
Yeah, that's fine.
step there, I think. And then if anybody wants to voice their concern, they're welcome to.
Yeah, that works.
I think that's immaterial in this one because it, like I said, it's been precluded by state rule, but to add to that though, I think if we're going to be passing ordinance of any sort, unless it's an emergency action that needs to be taken, or a special meeting because of it, we'll be trying to read these ordinances first and then not passing those until at least the second meeting or more. But at least 2 meetings will pass before any ordinance is considered for approval anyway. So it'll be more or less a reading of the first and then a passing of the second. It's not required by rule to do that, but I think it gives everybody an opportunity to listen to it, or at least have an opportunity to say something or voice their opinions one way or the other on whatever that ordinance might be. So I think it does open things up. Sometimes I hear things come up and surprise, it's passed without further discussion. I think with discussion, it also gives us an opportunity to make a better ordinance out of it and take into more considerations possibly.
And all of our ordinances will be online. We have them all scanned in, we'll be putting them on the
Excellent.
website.
Thank you. Is it going to be on the website? Good. Excellent.
We're working on the website. It's a working process. The other thing is, in department heads here, you have a area there on our county website. We want you to use it. It's very important. It's free. We can help get you some training to update it, and we want you to use it. I mean, when people look up Romaine County, they're looking up our website. So the information there, I know a lot of different departments, the recorder's office, and a lot of different departments are putting a lot of information on there. Paige, how you doing on yours as far as any way we can help you?
Well, I get Kylie. She's a little brain on it.
Okay.
I've
Chris-
been too busy to even
Right.
mess with it right now.
That's something we might want to think about too, is finding some place, or maybe having someone over that and having some type of stipend or something, you know, over to here in the courthouse, because we had one central person that could help on that. It would be, I think, be helpful. I think let's just talk here.
I believe so. I've not been able to get on the site to be able to do anything except look at it. But as far as editing anything, or even on the commissioner's page, I've not been able to do that yet. So it would be helpful to have the auditor's office is doing a pretty good job with that. And you had training on it 2 weeks ago, was it? So.
And if you need help, we can give you the number of the gentleman over it, and we can help you. But it's a great asset to Romaine County, and if you can use it more.
We are encouraging all the different departments to place their on the calendars whenever you're having meetings, so that people know where it's at, what time it's at, date, so forth. And then cleaning up, I noticed some of them, I've not looked in the last week or two, but some of this information is just back 2017, 2000, whatever, and nothing new since 2017's happened, at least on the website. So if you look at your individual departments or boards and look at these, and if you need a place on the website, you might get with us or with the auditor anyway and find out whether we want that to be on the website or not, as far as a topic or a department.
One other thing, Paige, it hasn't came out, but didn't up on the second floor you guys had a different process now you got between your offices that's live, and can you talk about that?
With the recorder's office, talking about with the
Some way you guys got it going now where you can send documents back and forth without.
Yes, where it's all digital, makes it easier. So, when the building shut down and we weren't allowing the public to come in, it made it hard for people to do their county business, whether they were transferring deeds. So now it's set up where it can all be done online, and it starts in the recorder's office, moves to the assessor's office, goes to the auditor, back to the recorder. So all three offices are talking digitally. I think it's through CSI, who Jennifer's vendor is. Just makes it more easy for the taxpayer to conduct their business.
Very good. Anybody got any comments, public comment time?
Tim, did we skip over the HR?
She wants a table to.
Oh, that's
Oh,
table.
she wants to
That's
table? Okay, sorry. I didn't.
HR is
Okay.
table.
Thank you.
Public comment time, anybody, it's your courtroom. John, you want to come up here and state your name?
John Moore. I printed off the agenda off the county thing, and this ordinance wasn't on it, which I realize you guys have right here, subject to change. That's all well and good. I was involved with that ordinance. 3 meetings we went through. It didn't get approved instantly. There was discussion. I even met with you at Dairy Queen, and we talked about it and what it was supposed to do. So I'm kind of disappointed that it showed up without being on the agenda. And so I am glad you tabled it, because I will be doing some checking, because I don't agree with your assessment. I don't think it's strictly a union ordinance. You have an apprenticeship and training site here in this county. There are 2 people on the payroll who are county residents. 1 person on the payroll who's an Illinois resident but pays county taxes on her wages. It's kind of a slap in the face to them to do away with something like this. That's all I got to say.
Thank you for coming. I mean, that's what government's supposed to be, for you to come and voice, and I respect that. And that's
The reason, John, that I referenced it as that is because that's what I heard you say and others, so that it was given reference to what it was. Because if you say the Davis-Bacon Act and certified payroll, I wouldn't think that people necessarily would identify with that or what it even means. So that's the reason why it was referenced as that. This is according to what we found. If you find out different, that's fine. It will make a difference if we do not, if you find that it is still active, because it will affect the jail project. So if this is going to be a consideration for the commissioners, we need to either act on it or make sure that our bid documents reflect this as it's written currently. So it does have an immediate effect if I'm wrong with what I said. So.
You're welcome to come back next time and talk again.
That'll be a 6:30 meeting, won't it?
Do what?
That'll be a 6:30 meeting, won't it?
Even if you're not able to attend, your input can be provided still, and we can read that into the record
No, I'll
as
be
well.
here. It's important enough to me.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
But
I
I'm saying if you
respect that,
can't,
really
for
do.
whatever reason, or if you have other people who cannot attend for whatever reason, you can give us the written statements or provide something for the record that can be entered into the record as well.
The other thing about the meetings, I had heard different people say different things about the meetings being changed. I, for one, I think government is for the people and should be more accessible to the people. Years ago, I think it was 5 years ago, we had a morning meeting and a night meeting, and it was no issue. Those meetings were changed, I think, 3 or 4 years ago to all morning meetings, and I objected to that, and I always will object to anything like that limits the people to come to the courthouse for meetings. So I just want to be clear on that. These meetings were like this before, and it was changed, and I think that it might not agree with everyone's schedule, but no schedule agrees with everybody's schedule. I mean, you might as well forget about that. But we're doing our best to make government more accessible to the people, and I think the general population respects that.
So Tim, they were night and day meetings before?
Yes.
Incorrect.
Right. Yes, it was. And then we hear people complain about being changed, that they were that way before.
I would also point out, though, that your next night meeting is possibly going to conflict with our redevelopment commission meeting, because we meet on the 30th at 4:30.
Well, That's what I'm saying, you can't make schedules. If you try to cater to everybody, it don't work. Just don't work.
Should we say 4:30?
Yes, sir.
I think our meeting's at 6:30.
I don't know,
There's
I
a
mean,
few hours.
if you'll sign my speeding ticket, if we go into extra in,
Well, I'll sign it for you. I'll certify that you should get it.
But I go back to my original point that we're here to make government more accessible to people, and I think people respect that. So. Any other comments? We want to call this meeting to order. End.
Adjourn?
Anyone else got anything before we gavel this meeting closed? Got any motion
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
to, in favor?
Aye.
We're not going to have a discussion on that one. Thank you all for coming.
Hey, John. I'm not opposed.